What's up? This is MC Lars. You are listening to Journey into Comics. You!
And here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Journey into Comics, a podcast about comic books, video games, movies, television, and everything nerd with your hosts, Nate Phillips and Brandon Stone.
You're gonna see some serious shit.
Hey everybody, welcome to Journey into Comics, episode 149. I'm one of your hosts, Brando. Join with me today, my co-host, as always, the founder of Journey into Comics, Nate. How's it going, my friend?
Dude, it's going really well. How are you?
It is going fantastic over here today. This is take 2 for this podcast.
Really, it's almost take 3.
Kinda, yeah, but this is like take 2 of the actual us attempting to record. We had some technical difficulties yesterday, and unfortunately, we gotta go record through Skype because we don't live near each other, and we gotta do what we can. And unfortunately, the internet was not cooperating with us. I had problems earlier in the day, and then later on, you had some problems. We just could not stay connected, and so what we ended up getting was 20 minutes of just us trying to start the show. Us not being able to hear you, me trying to figure out what you're saying. It comes out sounding like something like slap nuts and ketchup on hot dogs. I can't remember exactly the whole gist of it, but buddy, we normally record on like Thursday, Friday, somewhere around the end of the week, and it goes up on Monday. Of course, that whole shebang has gone out the window for this week because you said, Brando, this weekend's Comic-Con. Since we got plans for 150, let's hold the show off a little bit. It'll be worth it. Let's do some Comic-Con talk. That way we're not missing out on we're not like 2 weeks late to the party. And I'm like, cool, man. And then here we are 3 days after Comic-Con.
Still late to the party.
A little bit late to the party. Not as late as we would be. We wouldn't be into August. I remember last year we were like 3 weeks late because we had a period of time last year where it was very difficult for us to get together. I remember that.
Yeah, man. That was probably around the time the band was starting up and
Yep.
scheduling was hardcore. But I will say that today, while we are going to be talking about San Diego Comic-Con, we're going to do it in a little bit of a different format. There's a lot to digest, man. This was a big year for this event. A lot of DC news, a lot of Marvel news, some other news, as it were. But I don't want to, get stuck, trudging through, because there's a lot to work through, man.
There is.
So,
and you know what, though? You were saying there's a lot of other news. Comic-Con is and of course now there's so many Comic-Cons throughout the entire country, big and small. But what I refer to as almost the original Comic-Con as far as popularizing the idea of San Diego Comic-Con. It has become everything nerd. It has evolved past just comic books. And you see television, movies, you see some video game stuff, you see, all kinds of things that come to play for Comic-Con because people know that a lot of eyes are on that weekend, and it's a great time to unveil whatever you're working on.
Man, and this year was action-packed with stuff that wasn't necessarily comic book related, or it seemed like there was just this was a year for humongous buzz in the world of nerddom, and I think that I know we kind of have an order of things, but we don't really need to stick to that necessarily. I do want to say we've never had an official discussion on Journey into Comics about this show, but you're caught up on Stranger Things, right?
Oh, yes. I watched that. I want to say it was Christmas Shutdown, which is every year. I have a summer shutdown and a Christmas shutdown, and so I get some time off for the holidays, and that's a show, and as I've said on our show many times, it's very difficult for me to get enough time in either in the day or just multiple days to sit my ass down to watch anything prolonged, as for any period of time, whether it be movies or even any number of shows. That's one reason why I've fallen off so many long form shows that have so many episodes per season, is because even though I'm on day shift and I can just watch this as it airs, no, I can't. Because literally by the time I'm ready to sit down and watch anything, it's 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. And buddy, I'm getting ready to go to bed around 9 o'clock. And my goal is to
get up early.
Yeah, I get up at like 4 a.m., 3 a.m. your time. So my goal is to be in bed at 10. And I forego that for Walking Dead and Game of Thrones every year. And so like every Sunday I get less sleep. So the Monday, sometimes I'm dragging, sometimes I'm not. It all if there's a big episode and I'm like super pumped about it, and I go to lay down in bed and then I can't sleep. But like I watched Arrow. I liked Arrow. I watched some of Flash. I liked it too. If I can sit down and I can binge it, it's easier. But also sitting down and binging Arrow was a task, and I don't like anything to be a task. If it's a task, that means it's a chore. And it's like, while I'm enjoying this chore, man, I like mowing the grass too, but I don't want to do it every day. So, it just goes to a point
well
of
said.
I haven't even watched Iron Fist or Luke Cage or Jessica Jones yet, and I want to. But I feel less attracted to those characters than I am Daredevil, because I'm a longtime Daredevil fan. I've always enjoyed the character, so it's easier for me to justify I got to sit down and watch this over the next week or two, however long it takes me. But for me to go, I'm going to watch all of Jessica Jones, it's like, no, I'm going to have to get myself in the mindset and sit down and see if I actually like the format. I want to watch them all because Defenders is coming out, and I actually kind of want to watch Defenders, which they had a pretty awesome trailer. And was that even on the rundown? I put my phone away, Nate. I am like just kind of going off in my own little thing. No, you mentioned Stranger Things. We're going to circle back to Stranger Things because we have Defenders coming up, and I believe it's in August. I don't remember the date, so please.
August 19th.
Is it 19th? So we have the Defenders. I'm not going to be able to catch up on.
18th.
I'm not going to be able to catch up on those other shows before that show launches. Nate, right now, I don't even have Netflix. I got rid of Netflix for the first time since it's launched, as far as like the streaming aspect goes.
Wow.
Yeah. It just got to a point of we had to scale back some of our expenses, and we had to look at what are we using and what are we not. And Netflix is something that for a good 5 months really was just used to watch reruns of Futurama.
Totally feel you, man.
So I'm going to have to get it back. And what I might just do is end up waiting on Defenders. I don't know. It all depends. If it comes out and it's like knockout of the park, great. I may have to bite the bullet and either borrow somebody's or just get it. But Nate, this Halloween we get the second season of Stranger Things. It's a little bit later than what we got the first season. I want to say the first season was in August of last year. And so they had the trailer for Stranger Things season 2. What did you think?
All right, so just to get into the thick of it, for Stranger Things season 2, I love that it's set in Halloween. Mm-hmm. That's like my favorite time of year, so
Same.
Of course I'm stoked.
And of course it launches around that time too, so that's pretty cool.
It's all very thematic. There were so many great little Easter eggs, from Ghostbusters to Michael Jackson to, I mean, they just Dragon Lair. I mean, they just did such a great job in this trailer of teasing so many things, and you see each character in that trailer, and you want to know how they got where they're at in that trailer. It immediately jumps out to me like, what the fuck's happening to Will? Why is he freaking out and all of a sudden going to the Upside Down just out of nowhere? And it seems like losing hours of time or something, and then like you look at the team as a whole. They got the Ghostbusters gear on. I loved it. It was one of those things that, man, I don't need another trailer. I'm hyped as fuck. Bring me to October 31st or whenever this is dropping.
Yeah.
I'm ready to see it.
So, all right. So one thing that I said after the first season is that, this would make a very excellent one-off show. What I mean is like a good mini series. Just throw it out there, one and done. They don't need to make another one. Obviously, we knew that they were going to, but sometimes shows like this come around and they're hard to follow, especially in this day and age where you have the shorter mini series type season. I think the first season was only 8 episodes, and I felt like it was the perfect amount of time. Because they were able to build their characters, build their suspense. With the Netflix age, you know how many episodes are already out. So you can not justify, that's the wrong word. You can sort of put into your mind how many episodes you have to watch. And you can sort of not necessarily predict, but kind of maybe more feel the ebb and flow of the show, because it's going to have to go a certain way at a certain time. Season 2 looks like it's actually going to be able to stand up with what they've already done. And that's not to say that I doubted it, but I was sort of like, it's going to be hard to top that original season, because they hit a lot of nails on the head and they really captured a vibe with that first season. And to come in and keep that while expanding is very difficult.
Yeah, man. I loved that first season of Stranger Things. I just want to throw it out there that you and I will probably do a Stranger Things special this Halloween time. Once we have watched the series, probably just do a big episode, bring some people in, and talk about it.
I'm all for that.
I love that. I want to really dive into those characters. There's a lot to digest. And, of course, obviously, towards the end of the trailer, we get 11 is still very much alive. She's just stuck in the Upside Down. So it's almost a reversal of roles from season 1 with her and Will, Yeah,
I don't know if Nate, if you can hear Wyatt, my son.
Not at all.
Yeah,
no, sir.
I could hear him, and I think maybe my Caitlin's getting ready to get him dinner or something. But all right, so I'm gonna just deviate and talk about Wyatt for just a second, because this has to be said. The other day, after I got done doing the Game Addicts podcast, I had to get on the computer and edit the show. Of course, with that show, I also do video every episode. And so I have to do double the amount of work as far as editing the audio, editing the video. I have a process that doesn't take too long. But, I told him, hey, Daddy's going to go work on the podcast. And then he got off of the couch and started running around like going, Otass. 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 And we were like, what? Otass. Old Nate. Old Mock. Otass. He was saying podcast.
Oh.
And he knew that.
Wow.
He was trying to put his foot over and quote. He hasn't got that level yet where he can climb baby gates. But over there by the computer, because he knew I was going to get on the computer to work on the podcast. And that includes you and then Mike. And so when I was working on it, he I think it was yesterday. Of course, we tried doing the show, and then that endeavor failed. Well, I ended up going back out there right before he got down to bed, so I got to help put him to bed. And I walk out, and Caitlin's like, "What's up?" And I said, "We lost connection. Decided to wait another day." And he goes, "Otass." I'm like, no podcast tonight, buddy. And he goes, and he gets in my face and very intensely says, "Otass." He's been aggressively mooing lately.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Where he has sat on my lap and we have aggressively mooed at each other. Where he goes, I'm moving the mic back so I don't blow everybody out. Moo, and I go moo, and we just moo at each other. And then he now aggressively moves at the cats and at doors, and so. But I had to share the Otass story because he has been a very special interrupting guest here on the Otass. And
Journey into Otass. I love that
Journey
name.
into Otass.
I feel like that's very fitting.
Now, after
Next week.
Stranger Things this year, buddy, we get another show in November on Netflix.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, we get The Punisher.
Oh, yes, sir. We get the Punisher. You goddamn right.
And
That looks awesome.
So, like, we get a really cool back-to-back Netflix hitter. You know, we get a couple of really good shows from them in a row. So, I want to say, was there like a little teaser that I saw, or was it not a part of Comic-Con, where it was like some sort of teaser with the Punisher? But I saw like all these different like Korean logos and wasn't sure what was going on.
There was a Korean trailer that was released with Stan Lee talking.
Yes, that's what it was.
And Stan Lee is narrating about like all these different heroes and being regular everyday hero yourself and all this stuff, blah blah blah. And with it, it like he didn't actually introduce them or say their names or anything, but it introduced the Defenders and then also introduced the Punisher. And you got to see John Bernthal as Punisher in the newer styled gear, and just from that one clip alone, it looked really cool. However, Punisher is not a part of Defenders. I've been told they are not bringing him in for Defenders. They don't have any reason to use him. It doesn't fit their story, and they're going to save it. They want to make Punisher special. People clamored for this character, and now he's getting his own series. The ball is now in our court to enjoy it as much as Marvel hopes we will.
Well, I mean, he really knocked the ball out of the park with his portrayal of Punisher. I think when all the way back 100 episodes ago, we first talked about Bernthal taking on the role of the Punisher. You remember that?
Episode 50, yes, sir. We actually brought it to that very specific episode because we had so many guests and we wanted to get some of their opinions. Most everyone was on board except for fucking Decoy Octopus, that motherfucker.
And you know what? I don't even remember if I've actually talked to him about how he did, or about how he thought he did.
Oh, well, shit, that needs to be remedied.
It does.
Brando, I have a question, just not to throw a super wrench. There seemed to be so much Marvel goodness that came out of this SDCC, since we're talking about the Punisher. Is there any one thing that they announced or that they teased or any of those things that you were like, fuck, Marvel, you win again? Because I feel like Marvel is the company now that is set up to where they aren't ever going to be allowed to fail, and everything they show us always seems to be interesting as fuck.
So I got a text right when you were talking, and it really is fitting. Sort of. Nick, our good friend Blaine, is once again beating a dead horse. Talking about our Wonder Woman pronunciation.
Oh, Blaine, it's not Gal Gadot.
So
Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot. Now, I believe in the podcast that he sent us, which is like a Rooster Teeth podcast, they discuss it being pronounced Gal Gadot, not Guy Gadot, not Guy Gadot, not Gal Gadot, not, Anyway, so I kind of lost what you were saying. I want to say that you said something along the lines of what was Marvel, like all the stuff that they announced, what is one thing that they announced that I liked or was hyped about more than anything else? Is that kind of what you were going for?
Absolutely. It's just the thing I was saying is that Marvel has been set up as a company that can't fail, and everything they show us seems to work. Like, you think, oh god, they're just going to do another superhero movie. Here comes Spider-Man. Then it looks fucking awesome. And then you see the trailer for Thor Ragnarok that came out during SDCC, and that looks fucking awesome. And then you see Black Panther footage, and that looks awesome. And you hear the news about Captain Marvel, and that's awesome. And then they did the teaser trailer for Infinity Wars, and that's awesome. And it's like, with all this great-looking stuff and all these announcements, is there any one thing from Marvel that you took away that was just like, shit, they win. They can take my money?
No.
Really?
In short, no. I mean, I enjoyed all the news from them. I'm very, very perturbed that they have not released the full Infinity War trailer teaser that they showed. Like that.
Well, I can explain why they haven't, actually.
Well, then by all means do so.
Okay, well, Joe Russo was recently in an interview, and they were like, well, when's the trailer you guys released at SDCC going to come out? And he said, that is a special trailer that doesn't have everything we want perfect. It's like hey, you're at Comic-Con, we're going to give you a little something, but not all the kinks in the visual effects have been worked out. Not all the kinks with some of the color palettes and schemes have been perfectly worked out. Some of the shots might not even end up being used in the movie. So it is really like a sizzle reel that's meant to get you hyped for when the actual trailer drops. But honestly, if we're going to start there, the Infinity War trailer, even though it was a leaked version from a shitty camera that you could, not really see everything perfectly, goddamn, like, it looks amazing.
Well, from the slanted askew view of a cell phone, sure. But here's the thing. With video games, and I am gonna go here. It is notorious in video games that what you see is not necessarily what you get, as far as a movie. And of course, they have been notorious about using footage in trailers that don't necessarily end up in the movie. So
looking at you, Suicide Squad.
Exactly. I'm not necessarily calling out Marvel. I'm just saying in general that is done. So while I respect what he said there, I vehemently disagree with it. This is a weekend where not just people who go to Comic-Con get hyped up to see what's like the goings on, because then you have them controlling and taking down all these leaked footage of the sizzle reel of this trailer, or whatever you want to call it. Meanwhile, your competitor released a full-on trailer for their movie, and it comes out sooner. Sure, we need a new trailer for that movie, especially since I feel like the trailer that we got for Justice League on this one, right, vastly beats out any other trailers that we got for that movie. It has changed sort of like the tone of the movie in a way.
Correct. We're going to get into that soon.
Yes, we will.
Brando.
But I want to finish my thought on this, because while that Infinity War trailer, sizzle reel, teaser, cum rag, whatever you want to call it, looked cool, I don't give a shit until they show me. I don't want to watch it on a shitty cell phone. And so I am not hyped. Really, I'm not hyped or pumped up for that movie at all yet, because I couldn't see half of what I was trying to look at. It looks cool. So you're telling me that a couple thousand people get to see it, but the rest of us don't? And the rest of us just have to read reports about what it was online, about how cool it was, and then we have to wait for later. It's like, I understand giving people in audience, in show, a special something, but you're not going to release something like that and then have it not be released to the general public, and then wonder why are all this stuff leaking online? We got to take it down. We got to do all this copyright stuff. By all means, I am not expecting anything that I see in a trailer anymore for a movie. I'm not expecting that to be the movie. Not after some of the stuff that we've been dealt lately.
Absolutely.
I'm a huge gamer. All you got to do is look at the original gameplay footage of Watch Dogs. What was promised and what we got.
Not the same thing.
Dude, you didn't even get this, visually, you wasn't even the same game. So it's like, I'm very frustrated with Marvel because of that. Because if they're not going to release it, then it's like, why should I care? Granted, I do care, and I will go see it, because it's going to be an awesome movie, and I know it is, and I know we're going to review it, and I know it's probably going to review very high here. Okay? I know it is, because so far, Marvel really hasn't struck out in the last, 5-6 movies?
Man, they seem to really be on the ball, and it looks like even with their forward planning, they're really setting it up, man.
Well, exactly. You even had an Ant-Man movie that was more than what people thought it was going to be. You know, you have a Thor movie coming out that looks like it's going to be way better than the Thor movies that we've already had, which have not been their strongest endeavor. You know, you have Black Panther, which is going to, you know, this is the first, okay, I guess Doctor Strange would be the first one, but what I was thinking of, like, with the character that they've already introduced, that they're giving him his own movie, as far as, like, you had Spider-Man, and now you're going to go with Black Panther, and then after, you know, then we're going to go forward after that. So it just, I'm excited, really excited to actually see anything for Infinity War that I don't have to squint and turn my head at to see what I'm trying to look at, because the camera's out of focus too.
Yeah, that was really fucking annoying. Like, honestly, Brando, those are the moments where I'm like, why am I not at San Diego Comic-Con leaking this footage? Because I would have done a good-ass job filming it.
Probably because he was trying not to get kicked out.
Well, truth fact statement, but
so
anyways.
I don't know. It just really irks me. Where everyone else, every single other fucking trailer, every single thing that got announced, that, hey, here we go, it's online just a few hours later, and here's Avengers going, yeah, no, that was just for the people. It's, you know, it's not fun. All you gotta do is put up a headline in front of it that says, this trailer does not represent the final product. Enjoy. Here's this little cock tease for you. We're going to tickle your ball sack a little bit here, and it's going to feel amazing. And it's like, they did so much good, and then, and I'm sure people who were there were like, they totally fucking won the day. But over here in bumfucked Indiana, where I didn't get to see that because I actually have a fucking, well, actually, I shouldn't say that. A lot of people have jobs that I went, but I have a job that requires me to be here and not over there, and I can't leave, and all this other stuff, and they don't have a big Comic-Con like that near me, where they unveil cool stuff. And so I'm over here, I'm stuck just seeing stuff of the internet, and I watched that video. It looked cool, and I got more out of some dude reporting on it than I did actually watching it, because I don't get to see a high-res version. So I'll go ahead and get off my podium. I'll step back, and we'll just rein this show back in, and I'll try not to bitch anymore.
No, it's okay, Brando. I love that perspective, because, again, what's this show about? Us not always agreeing, and us being able to have a great conversation about this stuff. It's funny to hear you say that you got more out of the report than the thing. I read the report unknowingly, let me tell you, about this trailer before the trailer released at SDCC, because this is the same trailer they released at Disney's D23 event. Exactly the same footage. This is just, now it's been leaked, so I finally got to get my eyes on it, and I had read again a report that this is what the trailer that they dropped at San Diego Comic-Con was, and it's the same thing as D23, and then I read the description again and talk about the Guardians and Thor, and then there's a lot of these like other sections. You get to see a lot of the other previous Avengers, Captain America with a beard, a new Iron Man suit, Spider-Man wearing the Iron Spider suit we saw at the end of Homecoming, Black Panther, Scarlet Witch, Vision, Winter Soldier. You get to see Doctor Strange working with Star-Lord, obviously all of the Guardians, plus Mantis is a part of that, and Nebula. They do all these great things, but being able to know already what I was expected to see from the description made it kind of cooler for me to watch, because I was like, oh, I can't wait to kind of just get an idea of how it's going to look.
I can't wait to squint and try to see what this looks like.
Yeah, and try to get an idea. Because like Marvel's done a good job, man. They had me hyped when Age of Ultron came out. If you'll remember, there was a leak for that movie, and I fucking watched it and reported about it, where it was the Steve Rogers and Tony Stark at the wood chopping thing on the farm when they had ran from Ultron, and were at the Barton's farm or whatever. Marvel does this because now people are fucking hyped. People like you are like, fucking just show me, and now they've got you. Because when they do show you, you're gonna be even fucking more amped. When they show me, I'm gonna be even more amped. Like, they did a really great job with making you want all the stuff that's to come for Marvel. And if that feeling ever goes away when it's just like, oh, what's Marvel announcing this year at San Diego Comic-Con? Whoop-de-doo. Like, so what? That's when we know there's a problem, but they've kept us on the edge of our seats for damn near a decade, man. And I mean, there's been some clunker movies. We can't ignore your Iron Man 3s or some of the parts of the or two, some of the Incredible Hulk. Not the whole movie, but there are problems. You know, they were still finding their footing, but you got to think now they're a well-oiled machine, and they're finding directors, man. To go back to Thor Ragnarok for a second, there are scenes in that trailer that are so fucking epic looking. It looks like a movie about Thor, where it's larger than life and gods and these big stories. I mean, there's the scene where there's the fleet of Pegasus flying at Hela, and it like zooms out to this big battle, and it's all slow-mo. It looks cool as fuck. Then you're gonna have Hulk starting to learn to talk. We're gonna get the development of Hulk starting to be able to speak. That's gonna be fucking cool, man. I will say one thing real quick, Brando. I don't know if you have a lot for this. What do you think about Michelle Pfeiffer being cast as the original Janet Van Dyne Wasp for Ant-Man and the Wasp?
That's pretty cool. Now, you said Pfeiffer, not Piper, right?
Pfeiffer, Michelle Pfeiffer, not Piper.
Michelle Piper. That's pretty cool. I mean, I'm down.
It's wild because it's like they've taken two from the classic DC movie era and made them dope characters.
Well,
you know, you got Michael Keaton as Vulture, and
DC did just the same with the classic Marvel with J.K. Simmons.
Yep.
Who looks
turned him into the commish.
Is looking good as the commish. I like the look.
Man, I kind of want to jump to that for a second.
Can we
just talk about how bright and colorful the new Justice League trailer looked?
Well, I mean, as I said, the whole feel of the movie has sort of changed with this trailer. And, of course, no trailer almost never accurately represents the final product. But holy crap. I mean, what a time, I guess, to be alive and to be a fan. While I am upset and a little bit perturbed at Marvel for not kind of coming in and, like even showing their ace, and even though they got a couple of aces hidden up the sleeve, this was the trailer that this movie needed.
Yeah, it got me super pumped for the movie. Visually, colors are way brighter. Everything looks more stunning. It kind of feels like a Joss Whedon movie all of a sudden.
Well, that could just be some trailer magic, since Zach is taking the leave. I have no doubt that this trailer was probably put together by Joss. It may have been put together before. You don't know, but I mean, even before, like we knew this movie was going to be a departure from what we already got, and that we knew that going in. So to see it sort of come to fruition, if you're a DC fan at all, like I absolutely loved the little tickle about, and they almost kind of tell you why they didn't include like a Green Lantern.
Yeah, and they definitely teased that in the final scene with Alfred.
Yeah, well, now here's the thing: is that because this Steppenwolf, they show the whole scene. Of course, coming right off of Wonder Woman, we get the scene, him coming down, and then these words that are saying like, "No one here can, no one here can protect you or save you or stop me," or whatever he says. No lanterns.
No lanterns.
No Kryptonians.
No Kryptonian.
And and what's awesome about that is that right there tells you why we're not getting a lantern as part of the key member of the team right away, because this isn't about an alien or some outside force coming to save us, other than, well, come on now, Superman. This is about us taking care of us. Us having to band together to fight and hire evil, because no one's here to save us.
We don't have a Superman to do it for us.
We don't have a Superman. We don't have aliens. We don't have lanterns. We don't have anybody. And so that's why you don't get a lantern in this movie. And it's that line right there was like, boom, there it is, hammered it. Here's why you don't get a lantern in this movie. And it's saying it without saying it. So I love that, because right there, that puts them into the universe, and you know they exist, and that you know that they're going to come in at some point. But it tells you that this is a story about, Bruce and Diana having to form a team of like extraordinary people here, not people elsewhere, and that's why we have the team that we have. There was a lot in this trailer to enjoy. You did get a lot of action. I love the whole heist, I guess, scene from the beginning of the movie or beginning of the trailer with Diana.
Yeah.
I like
dudes with the shotguns and she fucks them up.
Yeah, I like that. I liked the shots of the bat. I'm liking how he looks. He looks even more Dark Knight Returns-ish.
Yeah, more brooding.
More brooding, but he looks just like the whole Dark Knight Returns Batman just looks like this big, bulky, massive bat. And he looks even more so like that on this. I loved some of the Alfred dialogue. The little nod to Batman Returns. I liked that.
Fighting wind-up penguins.
Well, he's like it makes you either miss the days or something about like rethink the days of like finding wind-up exploding penguins. Obviously a direct reference to the Bat's background, and of course there's an infamous scene in Batman Returns where he has like the mini penguins waddling through the city with the missiles on their back, because of how far they've come and the level of villain that they're facing now is so much higher, so much bigger than that. They're trying to really hit that home across as far as like they're really dealing with something out of their league. I really liked. I really like Irons as like a wisecracking Alfred. I liked him in BVS. So it's awesome that we get more of him here. And then going to J.K. Simmons as Gordon. We got to see the little snippet of the scene that we had already heard about from, I want to say, some journalists had talked about being on set for the scene where they all disappeared, except for
Flash,
except for the guy who's like the fastest out of all of them, who could easily do that. And then they're all gone.
He's like, oh, they just disappeared, huh?
Like he is it's funny because he would be the one that could easily do that. And of course he is like the one guy who is like the kind of Flash that they're telling is not like this big superhero Flash. It's like, yeah, I am not used to doing any of this.
Yeah. Now, Brando, I want to hit you with a couple things here real quick about the Flash. Real quick, just to divert here for a second. They did announce the name of the Flash movie.
Yep.
And that the one thing they did there tells me they're already planning to reboot their whole universe.
That could be.
Bar none. And I think it's a genius move to do that.
It's a way out.
It is absolutely a way out. And it's a win-win for them because we got announced that the Flash movie is going to officially be called Flashpoint.
Dun, dun, dun.
So they're going to have Eobard Thawne go back and kill Barry's mom, but Barry's going to go back and stop him, which is going to change everything. And Aquaman's going to fight Wonder Woman, and Thomas and Martha Wayne are going to become Batman and the Joker, respectively.
Which means
Negan's going to be Batman.
If that happens,
so fucking excited.
Holy shit! Like once I thought of that, and I was like, if they don't recast that, oh.
Well, and then Maggie would be the Joker,
right? And it would be
because
she played Martha, and it would be so awesome because that would really be like a departure and something else for her, like a challenge for her as like an actress to people.
It would be them role reversal, Brando. He would be the hero, she would be the villain.
Yeah, but even then it's like, well, Thomas Wayne's not necessarily the best hero. He's not the quintessential Batman, if you will.
Not at all.
Exactly. So it makes perfect sense for like a guy like Jeffrey D. Morgan who's played Negan at this point, and then also the comedian. Perfect. And then like it's almost like a dream casting,
Yeah, man.
Badass Batman, and you get Jeffrey D. Morgan to play that. It's like, and then he actually commented on it, if that's what they're planning on doing, right? He's like, if that's what they do, I am on board.
Well, clearly, of course. Oh, you would like to play Batman? Okay, great. Like that would be so iconic, dude.
And not just Batman. And and then, because here's the thing is about Jeff, is that he's a comic fan. He knows like the difference between Batman and Tom Wayne Batman. So his Batman would be just a step up and even more dark and even more menacing than a regular Bruce Batman.
And a little bit Negan.
A little bit, maybe. But just completely, it would be a chance to have that character after all these years, after all of this, all the Bruces, after all the other Batmans we've had, to really cement and differentiate that character into something unique. And for him to be the first to do that. Cool.
Super cool. I love to just jump back to it. The Justice League trailer, man, like I said, it has me hyped. I'm excited. November can't get here soon enough. I will say I want to hit you with one last stat. I don't know if you know this, but DC just recently spent, are you ready for it? $25 million on reshoots.
Yes.
For Justice League.
Yes. Which reshoots are pretty common and quite often are not cheap, but that is quite a bit of pennies to throw down. Obviously, some changes were made once they got to the editing room. Not just little changes, some changes were made, and I don't know if that is they have said quite a few times that this movie is very much Snyder's movie, and that Whedon is just finishing Snyder's movie. He's not changing anything to make his movie, and I don't think necessarily Whedon would do that. I don't think he's that kind of guy. I think he's going to try and be the good soldier and come in and let's make this, let's do right, because everything that we've seen, we're not getting that credit of directed by Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon, or with Joss Whedon. It is directed by Zack Snyder. So yeah, Whedon's going to get some sort of other credit, associate director, something. I don't know. I don't even know what you would give him as far as a title, or if you just special thanks him or whatever. But I do feel like his influence is going to be felt. And I don't necessarily think it's going to be a massive game changer to what the final product is going to be. I think this movie is going to be representative of what the changes that they made after BVS, the changes in direction, the changes in tone, the changes in lighting, everything. That movie, BVS, not just Suicide Squad, but BVS, made them take a step back and reassess what they were going to do going forward. Because they had to at that point. Because BVS wasn't the grand slam out of the park that they wanted it to be. So if they were going to continue, they had to think about that. So to come in and say that Whedon is saving the day, he's saving the movie is what he's doing. Not necessarily saving us.
Yeah. Well said, Brando. Now, I don't know if I told you this or not, dude, but I actually have finally seen Wonder Woman, and I'm going to save that review for on the other side of 150, because there's a lot to talk about. But just shortly, they did announce Wonder Woman 2 officially at San Diego Comic-Con. They said, hey, we're not fucking around. We're going to do a second movie. It only makes sense. The first one was really good. We also got some footage for Aquaman, and I don't have that on the rundown, but apparently it was like a 10-second teaser clip Uh, those movies are obviously a little ways out. Right now, we're looking at Justice League, and then I don't know what's in store for 2018 with DC, because it was supposed to be The Batman, but that is not the coming out.
No, it is not the coming out. Not yet. Affleck is still on board with this. The dude that they brought in to direct, I can't remember his name. Is he the Apes director?
Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves, that's right. I want to say he's looking at doing a trilogy of of sorts. And of course, leading up to this, we had there were rumors going about that Warner Brothers was looking at an Affleck exit to pass the reins off to be able to do it in a classful way. Whether or not this is still going to happen, we don't know, because Affleck did address it, but he didn't really say yes or no. He just kind of definitively said that being Batman is the most badass thing he's ever done and is doing, and would love to play Batman forever. But he didn't really even say it 100% like that. I don't know. I think there was some shakeup, and I think there were some cold feet about him directing, and I think moving in with a new director is challenging, especially when you were an executive producer and you helped write a script for this movie, and now a new director comes in. Nate, you get hired as a director to make your Batman movie. But hey, Affleck's movies is already written. What do? Do you take the opportunity of a lifetime to tell your Batman story, or do you just do his story? Because, I mean, while he may have written a good story, I mean, you have to be able to feel passionate about this to be able to do it. So, I see where Affleck is coming from, where he's like, well, this was the movie we wanted to do. This might be there might have been some shakeup there. There might have been some drama. But I also see where Reeves is coming from, where they brought him in to do Batman, and he goes, I want to make my Batman movies, and I want to be able to tell these badass stories, and this script isn't what I want. So, as the guy that the studio has gone to, and they've hired him, and he has proven with his Apes movies, which somehow have been an improvement, and they've added to the Planet of the Apes mythos and have made some badass movies with people pretending to be apes in CG, and have done a great job in storytelling. Dude knows what he's doing with making movies.
For sure.
So it's what happens? Where do you go? I definitely feel Reeves' case here. And if Affleck is feeling burned and maybe this isn't going the way that he wants it to go, I'm hoping that they make this movie, look at where they're going, and let's make a decision. Because I have a feeling that if you put Affleck, because he's already done a good job at playing the role, he's going to be an executive producer, so he's going to have some say in who and what he's doing. It's not going to be his script, but he can help make it. He can help make it what he wants it to be, based off what Reeves wants it to be. It's this big, political clusterfuck in a way. But I have a feeling if all these stars can align, we're going to get a badass movie.
Yeah, man. I think Matt Reeves knows what he's doing, and you said what would I do? Have an opportunity to direct Batman, and there was maybe already a story. I think Matt Reeves needed to first of all look at the script and determine, okay, is there anything about this that I just fucking love?
Well, he probably did that. I mean, I have no doubt that he did that, because the project was already at that stage.
And then on the flip, what is it about this script that I fucking hate? And now, what can I do to create a story that is a little bit of this narrative they've already worked, plus my own concepts, to make it big enough to where I can spin this into a 2 or 3 movie deal, and who knows, maybe beyond. It all depends. But it's really interesting right now. Everything in the entire DCU is in flux until we get Flashpoint. I can say nothing is certain. No matter how much we want there to be certainty, Nothing is certain.
Yeah, because if these Reeves movies fit into the DC, is it DCU or DCEU?
EU for Extended Universe.
Okay, yeah. So all of these movies, if all the Reeves movies are in fact canon to the DCEU, that means they're subject to changes within the main plot for the main overall arcing storyline. So he's like, I want to make my Batman movies, and they're going to be this trilogy, and you can't tell me that I can't do this. Well, that's not the way this works. The cool way that some of this, like with the Wonder Woman movies, is that they set that damn movie so far in the past that whatever they did wasn't going to really have an impact on what was going on now. And I've heard, I don't know if this is true, but are they doing the second movie in like the 80s?
Yeah, I believe that's the game plan, is to move her a little bit into the future. So we're getting a lot of Diana's backstory before she even gets to BVS, which I think is a really interesting concept. Like, you're essentially telling everything as a full-blown flashback.
Yeah.
But it does such a good job of removing you from worrying about what timepiece it's in, and the story's good enough, I mean, at least for the first one, that it allows you to suspend your disbelief and not really think about where the time period is and just focus on what the characters are doing. I think that really is a testament to what they're doing. And to actually speak on that, Brandon, one thing we didn't cover for Marvel, talking about what decade our movie's set in, Captain Marvel's going to be a 90s movie, dude.
Backstreet's back, all right.
Anyways, this is super cool because a couple things come from the announcement with Captain Marvel. Brie Larson's obviously going to be Captain Marvel. We get an announcement that Nick Fury is going to be making his return. It's possible we will see a two-eyed Nick Fury in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Can we get Jerry Curl, Nick Fury?
Oh, Jesus. Coming to America style.
Well, I was thinking more like Sam Jackson, Pulp Fiction, Jerry Curl.
Yeah. Jules.
That would be funny. And I don't think that they would do it just like because to me, like, that's kind of like when you have a flashback and you have just something like that just to get a reaction.
Yeah, but I mean, they could do it in a classy way. Like, he could eat Big Kahuna Burger in the 90s or some shit, and then they just like have a little tiny reference, and it would be clever.
Or like, or like he's walking and he has a burger in his hand, and he's talking and he just takes a bite and goes, "That is a tasty burger."
Exactly. It could be like a subliminal little just one-liner that is a nice wink. It doesn't have to be anything super major, although that would be fun. One other thing from this movie is that we are getting a Kree-Skrull war, which means the Skrull are a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. How does that work? The Skrull first debuted in X-Men, I can't remember what number it was, or not X-Men, Fantastic Four number something or whatever. So it's a Fantastic Four character. How do you do that? Well, James Gunn a couple years ago said, look, Skrull exists in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but major Skrull, like Super Skrull and some of the major name Skrull, are the property of Fox. So that being said, essentially what they can do is they can use the Skrull race, create their own take on it, and it's not going to be specific characters. So they essentially can make their own characters for this movie, which I think could be really, really clever. I'm really looking forward to this, Brando.
Yeah, I mean, that's very interesting way to like work around it, I guess.
But there's only one major problem with this movie: the '90s setting for Captain Marvel. Do you know what it is?
No, because this is the first time I'm hearing about it.
Well, if Captain Marvel set in the '90s, that means that our entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, I'm about to blow your mind hole, our entire Marvel Cinematic Universe could be compiled of fake characters. Meaning, there might be Skrull who are pretending to be Tony Stark, or are pretending to be Steve Rogers. And if that's the case, then Marvel has already shown me a little teaser of what their intent is for their major story after Infinity War, and their major story looks to be Secret Invasion, where the Skrull essentially are every character, and all the real versions of themselves have been hidden away. That's fucking huge, you know?
Yeah,
I mean, what if the concept is that Tony Stark isn't really Tony Stark? He's been replaced by a Skrull this whole time.
and he's never been Tony Stark.
Correct.
But then you get the real Tony Stark, and it's not Robert Downey Jr.
Exactly. Boom. Recast. Home run.
Boom. Oh man, that is that could be awesome, but some fans might also backlash on that too. Like it's a way to do it, and it's a really cool, ingenious way to do it. But then you're saying that all the Iron Man movies that we've had, all the stuff that we've done with Iron Man, negated. It's not really Iron Man. So then,
yeah, but that allows them to retcon. Or what if he was picked up right after the first movie, and the second and third movie wasn't actually our Tony? Also, all the Avengers weren't our Tony. Or it could be any character. That's the crazy thing about it. It has
holy
limitless
shit.
potentiality.
I had a joke, but then I lost it.
I mean, I'll leave you to think about that one.
I had a joke, but then I lost it. I lost my joke. Cannot find
that
it.
sucks.
I cannot find it.
Damn.
So, what else do we have here?
Are you ready to shit your pants?
Oh, dude, yes. Yes, indeed. Well, actually, no. I did that before we came on the air. But, well, okay, not really. My pants were around the ankles, and I was sitting on the commode doing my business. And but yes, we are definitely going to talk about the Walking Dead Season 8 trailer. And
no words except for the beginning.
Yeah, really interesting way to do it. Just put the focus on what's going on, you know. But there's one thing I want to talk about.
Sure.
The end.
Well, please give us your thoughts on the end of this trailer, where it seems we are in one of two things: a distant future or a dream.
I think it's meant to believe you think that it's a dream, but I don't think it is. I don't think that it is at all. I think what you're seeing is, kind of like when you wake up and your eyes are a little blurry.
Got a little sleep in them.
Yeah. Well, because the first thing that we see is a cane. Well, okay, not the first thing. This is the very end of the trailer. The trailer indicates a very big, action-packed season. A lot of shit happens this season.
It's all-out war, Brando, quite literally.
So there are 12 issues to all-out war, and there are 16 episodes this season.
I like your math.
All right, so it's going to be extended. My original thought was it last year before? Because we were wondering whether or not they were going to start All Out War after the mid-season this past year. We had talked about that. And I said, yeah. I don't think so. I think they're going to wait until the beginning of next, and then all next season is going to be All Out War. I still think that. I think that what we saw at the end of this trailer is going to be it's going to be hinted at. We're going to get flashes of it. We're not going to really understand it until the end of the season. And then the beginning of the next season, season 9, is where it comes into play. Because I think that's the time jump. Because we see a cane. And if you're a reader of the comics, you know what this means. I'm about to spoil some shit. So Blaine, if you're listening, gonna be spoiling in a couple seconds here because
about to get the fuck spoiled out of you.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1. You had your chance to either fast forward or turn it off. Rick gets fucked up in this war. Him and Negan go at it. And Rick gets fucked up and can't walk without a cane.
Yeah.
So then we see Rick laying in bed, full beard, hair, and he's got gray on him. All Out War, the war with Negan, ages Rick. It really does. It does so in the comics as well. He's a different character after All Out War. Because we had that whole bit in the comics where he has to try and find himself again. Find that youthful, Rick. To cut, like, as weird as that sounds, it's like, well, he's on top. But this war takes a lot out of him. This war ages Rick. And it visibly ages Rick. This whole world has aged him, but specifically, this war has added some gray to him. And that's what we see. Is after it's all said and done, the time jump, Rick waking up. And I remember earlier on, I can't remember when I said it, but I said, how cool would it be is if we get the start of this season, and it's what we see at the end of this trailer is like the very start of the first episode, and we're confused. We don't know what's going on. And then it goes back, and it kind of tells more of what we just saw, or like where we think the story's going. And what if throughout this season we get little intermittent clips of that, where a little bit in the first episode, a little bit in episode 7 or 8, like right there, the mid-season, maybe mid-season premiere a little bit. And then at the end, we get a little bit more explanation. And then at the very end, we understand. Because then when it goes into the next season, it's the time jump.
That'd be dope.
Because originally I said, I think start the season off by showing like Negan in prison. But if you do it the other way, where you just see like an old Rick, where you're kind of confused whether or not it's a dream or whether or not it's real, but it's actually real, because they show you in little sprinkles the time jump while All Out War is going on, because in a way you can think of it as this is Rick thinking back on it, or reliving it in a way. So dude, like, watching the trailer, I actually didn't get all that hyped, and it's one of my favorite stories in The Walking Dead is the All Out War, the whole Negan thing. And it's not that I don't want to watch it. It was just, okay, this is what I expect. Boom, 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 right? And then that last thing with the cane, I was like, oh, yes. And then they showed that. And then, of course, Caitlin, completely oblivious. She goes, what was that? And I'm like, ooh, yeah, I'm excited. And then, talking to Blaine, he's like, he goes, what was that about? And then I just kind of gave him a look. He goes, you know something. And I said, I know something.
Fuck yeah, we know something, Brando.
Oh, yeah, man. It's awesome. It's awesome, and I can't wait to see this whole story play out on TV. Is going to be great. Of course, Walking Dead has it's notorious for taking its time. So it's notorious for segmenting its episodes. It has so many characters to cover, so they do character specific. This 2 characters here, these 2 characters there. Let's go follow Morgan for a 90-minute episode to get more of his backstory. Let's go over here to Michonne for a little bit. Let's go over here to Daryl for like a whole episode. They're notorious for that. And so sometimes you feel like you're never getting what you want when you want it. But usually the entire package of the season is a pretty well-rounded story. And I'm hoping that because of that this is a war, they do that a little bit less. Or at least don't make it seem like it's such a, you have to wait 4 weeks to find out what happens with one thing, which was a negative thing about the season, not this last one, but the one before, where they teased the Glenn thing for like 7 episodes or something like that. It was unbelievably long.
Yeah, man. I want to say I have a thought about what you were saying with Rick. I agree. I think it would be really cool if they start the season with Old Man Rick and you're not really sure. But how cool would it be to, like you said, end the season where you understand why he's in that position, and we're brought back to the beginning of the season with the scene as Old Man Rick, and we are past the time jump. How cool would it be to see him get out of bed from that scene, hobble right downstairs to the prison, and show Jeffrey Dean Morgan long-haired in prison just sitting.
Yep.
No words exchanged. Nothing. And then the season ends. I mean, man, I don't know. I don't know that there could be more better television than what we are experiencing right now in our lives.
We're getting
I'm
so many
excited.
awesome things, not just from network television, but I mean, we're getting so many cool things from online sources. The Netflix is out there, your premium channels, like your AMC's. We got a new Star Trek series coming in September, available on CBS All Access. That stars Walking Dead alum. I can't remember her name, but she played Sasha.
Aniqua Green.
Shaniqua Green. Of course, she is a pretty big star in the show. It also stars the dude. I'm not gonna look him up right now. Lucius Malfoy from Harry Potter. Been in so many things. He's always like a villain, but he's in that show as well. Of course, I'm a big Trek fan, so I'm looking forward to it. Not just to see it, but I hope that it's good. I hope it's like, you know what? They put this on this damn All Access app where that's the only place where you can see it. Besides the first episode, which is going to air on CBS, I'm afraid that they're setting it up for failure because they're like, not enough people are watching this. But I'm hoping that it's good enough to where enough people get interested and want to go watch it on there that it'll make CBS get off their asses and actually put some balls behind Star Trek, because I feel like there's nothing right now on the air that is straight sci-fi. As far as like, that futuristic, space travel kind of stuff. And there's not really anything out there that speaks to that. We've had the zombie thing for a while. We've had this and that. Things kind of go in droves. You know what? I think there's space and I think there's real estate on the market for a really cool Star Trek show to be out there and kicking some ass. So I'm hoping that the show is good enough to draw some people in. That's really all I had to say about it.
Me too. I did not get to see. I think they released a teaser for that. Did it look good?
They did, and it does look good. I got to watch the teaser for it yesterday, and you know what? It's been a long time coming. They've delayed the start of the show a lot, and I think some of that had to do with Shaniqua's time on The Walking Dead, and she had to wrap that up to be able to go and come over and work on it. But now that it's been rolling, they're gonna. I think it's gonna be like 11 episodes for like the first half of the season or something like that. It starts airing, I think it's September 24th, but it's like late September when it starts. But I think the CBS All Access app is like only like a couple dollars a month. It's kind of like the CW thing with that app. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Well, CW is free.
Oh, is it? Well, I want to say
CW app is free.
I think CBS All Access is like $2 a month. I think I looked into it like when they first announced Star Trek Discovery, and see, the show takes place before the original series, but after Enterprise. There's so many freaking series. It's kind of and so the Shaniqua plays. I think she plays like the second or the first officer. I'm sorry, the first officer, the second in command of like the Discovery ship, and so you have the Lucius Malfoy dude. I'm just throwing these names out there in total because I really don't want to look up his name right here on the podcast and spend too much time on it. But you got, he had some real estate on the trailer, so he's actually in it. You have other characters, some new alien designs that kind of show up. Yeah, man, I'm hoping they can really get in there and kick some ass because, Doctor Who's a completely different kind of show and sci-fi, but there's definitely room for it out in the nerd market. There's no Star Wars TV show, so why can't there be a good Trek TV show kind of going on right now?
Couldn't agree more, Brando, and you gave me one hell of a segue.
Indeed.
Because you brought up Doctor Who. Now, I have teased online that I wanted to talk about this, and now I feel like I have an opportunity to kind of vent some things and get some thoughts out there. It seemed like, there was this big reveal coming for when are we going to find out who the new Doctor is. The season finale doesn't give you the answer. It actually leaves you with the 12th Doctor not regenerating and instead being stuck in time. And there's the very interesting thing they're intending to do this Christmas, where they're going to have David Bradley, who was in Harry Potter movies as well. He was also Will Defray in Game of Thrones, which we'll get to that in a minute. But he's going to be playing the first Doctor, the original William Hartnell Doctor. essentially is coming back to Doctor Who and is going to have a story with the 12th Doctor. So the first and the 12th Doctor meeting at the same time.
He kind of looks like the original Doctor in a way.
He looks like William Hartnell way more than you'd expect. And actually, David Bradley got his first role as the Doctor, playing it in the movie Adventures in Time and Space, which was a retelling of William Hartnell becoming the Doctor and how things really went on set and the real history of Doctor Who. Now, after announcing that they're bringing him to the fold, and they had him in the season finale, spoiler alert, of season 10, there was still this big, who's the Doctor gonna be? And Brando, I can tell you, for the first time in my Whovian fandom, I was giddy with excitement when I found out who the new Doctor would be. Immediately, I knew who the actress was. It was the first time that the BBC had cast somebody I actually knew to play the Doctor before them playing the Doctor. Even though I had heard of Peter Capaldi, and he was on the Three Musketeers show I briefly watched from the BBC, I didn't really know too much about him, so him coming in as this character, it was fresh. With Jodie Whittaker becoming the 13th Doctor, 14 if you count War Doctor as a number, but technically he's not. She's the 13th iteration of the Doctor. I think it's phenomenal, Brando. This is one of those situations where I know what BBC is doing because I've seen her work. Jodie was in Broadchurch. She was the mother of the kid who gets killed that literally sets up the whole Broadchurch story. So she has a very riveting performance, a lot of crying and a lot of heavy emotion built into her character in that. And then on the flip side, she played a character who was a part of a group of kids trying to save their block from aliens in a movie called Attack the Block that I've been a fan of. I got that several years ago. I think 2011 is when it came out on Blu-ray. I picked it up immediately. Nick Frost, the guy who works with Simon Pegg, often directed that movie, Attack the Block. And again, Jodie has an amazing role in that movie. She does a great job and brings the serious moments and the ability to act and the comedic moments. She's a really well-versed actress. And it was crazy because there seemed like there was a lot of really fast backlash to this actress being cast as the Doctor. Well, the Doctor can't be a girl, damn it. It's like, what the hell? And I'm sitting here going, did these clowns not even watch season 10 of Doctor Who that just came out? I mean, the whole season, spoiler alert, hinges on Missy repenting for her sins with the Doctor. Missy going from being bad, Missy being the female master. And by the end of the season, John Sims' master returns, and Missy kills John Sims' master to essentially become herself, but John Sims kills her, and she dies as that version of the master. So it's this really weird self-fulfilling prophecy where she killed the evil version of herself to become a good version of herself, but the good version of herself at the very end died at the hands of the version of herself she killed. And that's super fucking timey-wimey for you folks, but that's how it happens. So now you have a story set up where the first Doctor is going to be interacting with the 12th Doctor. The first Doctor, who's green, who does talk about how he's made mistakes. It is highly possible the first Doctor will kill the 12th Doctor, causing his regeneration to become a female, as it is in all of the Gallifreyan lore, that if you commit the sin of suicide, you become a reverse gender of yourself as a way to live life through a different set of eyes and give yourself a different outlook and opportunity. It's also a mark of shame. You know, oh, well, I'm still the Doctor, but you're a woman. What did you do to yourself to become a woman? Like, why would you have taken that measure? So I genuinely think the BBC is going to do a great thing. Chris Chibnall is a phenomenal director. He did great things with Broadchurch, and he was great on all the episodes of Doctor Who he's already directed. So having him as the showrunner, having Jodie Whittaker as his Doctor, I am super jacked. And to all you haters, fuck yourselves. This is going to be a great thing, and this might be a crazy change for Doctor Who, but it's going to be the change we all did not know we need. Mark my words. Brando, let's get back to our final topic before we close things out today. Dude, we can finally talk about Game of Thrones!
Yes, we can. And we can talk about 2 episodes. The first episode, which we were going to talk about last week, but now we can talk about the second one as well. So Nate, what do you think so far of this season, just for the first 2 episodes? There's only 7 episodes this season.
Okay, so it's fast-paced, it's action-packed. There's a lot of stuff going on. They start the season off right with Arya being completely savage. It was one of the greatest payoff moments in television history.
Yes.
I think, I mean, genuinely, it was so fucking good because you knew. You were like, wait a minute, he died.
We'll see. At first, for a split second, I thought, okay, are we going to get a retelling of, like, the Red Wedding, or are we getting a flashback to that? Like, because we ended the last season with Arya, getting the revenge, and it's like, and then I noticed, okay, this isn't it, and then I was like, oh shit.
That's what I did too. I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be amazing. Whatever she's about to do is gonna be amazing. And boy, was it amazing, Brando.
She got the revenge. I love the line. I love the line that the sheep are never safe as long as one wolf remains.
Yep, and I mean, she baited them in such a clever way. Oh, we haven't had enough celebrations. I mean, you guys are bad-mouthing me about not being, cheerful enough, but, and then you notice that she starts to, like, she's planned it now. She knows what to say, how long it's going to take for her plan to work. So she is making the last words these people hear the reveal that she has gotten the greatest of revenge.
Yep.
Talking about taking down Robb Stark and his wife and killing Catelyn Stark. Man, she just was so fucking brutal. It was amazing. And now she's on a mission to kill the queen. Well, or so we thought. She also ran into, I don't know if you saw the little, it wasn't really an Easter egg, but it was a cameo. Oh, you all right, my friend?
Yeah, I'm dying. I kind of choked on my own air.
Oh, no.
I did see the cameo. Yeah. Oh, man. Whew. That was Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, it was awesome because I heard the singing and I was like, this singing sounds familiar. Like, it's not an Ed Sheeran song. It's obviously specifically for Game of Thrones, but I was like, man, that voice just sounds so familiar. What is going on? And then I remembered, oh, shit, Ed Sheeran's supposed to have a cameo in this season of Game of Thrones. And sure enough, they did it in such a clever way, man.
Yeah, I really liked it. It sounded very bardish, and, well, he would be a bardish.
Yeah.
I really liked it. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. Now, one thing that Arya said, if anyone asks what happens here after she pretty much killed the entire Frey male line of secession, basically killed off the entire family. If anyone asks what happens here, tell them the North remembers.
Yeah, man, she's a total fucking savage. Now, she runs into, in the second episode, just to continue Arya's story a little bit, she runs into Hot Pie.
Yeah.
They have an exchange, and from that exchange, a couple things. He didn't realize how bad he was crushing on her, and he kind of says that, like, I didn't realize how pretty you were. What the hell? I can't believe I thought you were a boy. But more importantly, Jon Snow is King of the North.
Yeah, she just now finds out that the Boltons no longer have Winterfell. And that Winterfell is back in the hands of the Starks, and Jon Snow has been crowned King of the North. And see, this is very interesting because she has been driven by her goal pretty much since the Red Wedding. I mean, it's been ongoing, but ever since Ned died. But the Red Wedding is what really catapulted her quest for revenge and in her list. Even her going off and getting the training from like the Faceless God. So now coming back here, she went right to work. Of course, taking out the phrase. And then of course she's like, I'm going to go and kill the queen. And then I think this kind of derails her for a second because she has had nothing else but this list, nothing else, And then for a second there, she's like, I can go home. Whereas she has been completely quest driven, she can go home. And think
now,
about
my
it.
question, Brando, will she make it home?
Well, if she makes it home, it might not be the Winterfell that she thinks that she's getting.
Well, I mean, clearly, Winterfell is now Wildlings and Northfolk, Westerosian.
Mm-hmm. Now, okay, let's go back and, in the first episode, we saw Daenerys touch ground for the first time on Westeros.
Mm-hmm.
They sailed to Dragonstone, which is where Stannis Baratheon lived after Robert's Rebellion, and he made that his home. And that's where he also launched his war against the Crown in the War of the Kings. And it's been abandoned, and she has returned. That's where Daenerys was born, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
They mentioned that. So Daenerys has returned to her home, and this is where she's going to launch her plan to take back the Iron Throne. So, what else happened in the first episode? Well, of course, Cersei. There's an awesome conversation between Cersei and Jaime, where this is the first time these two characters have talked in quite some time, and also really since she's become queen. Well, real queen of the Andals and of the Seven Kingdoms, and basically sitter of the throne, sitter of the Iron King's chair.
You son of a bitch.
You guys will get to enjoy that next week. I hope you guys enjoy 150. We had a lot of fun doing that.
Oh man, I've been having laughs all week listening to it. Admittedly, I'm like I said, I'm a fan of our own show, so I really, I can't wait for them to listen to that one. But Brando, one thing about Stannis Baratheon and what's going on with Daenerys is she touches down at the end of the first episode. She says, "Shall we begin?" And then when we pick up with her, they're trying to come up with their game plan to take the throne. And when you hear the game plan, man, I was like, fuck, they're so smart. Oh, that's such a brilliant plan. It's like, they're going to send Unsullied and Dothraki to Casterly Rock to take that from the Lannisters. And the whole idea that it's just like everything on the chessboard is moving a little bit differently. They obviously sent the Greyjoys off on their own mission to King's Landing, I do believe.
They were taking the Dornish lady back home first, I think.
That's right.
And then they were going to reconvene, and they were going to launch the attack on King's Landing with the Greyjoys and the Dornish folks. And then, was there another ally they had? I can't remember. Oh, the Tyrells.
The Tyrells.
So then, that was the game plan. Because Cersei was trying to gather support for the Bannermen and other lords of the Tyrells and all those by saying that they're going to bring savages to our lands. They're going to come in and rape and pillage your villages and everything. And literally, right after that, you have Tyrion going, "No, we can't send these people. That's going to send the wrong message. We have to have our own countrymen fighting this war." Because if we're going to get the support of the people that we are conquering, to say we now support you, we have to. It has to be Westerosi soldiers. It has to be Westerosi folk who are leading this charge. So I mean. Something I said today or maybe yesterday in talking about Tyrion, very rarely has he made a real wrong decision. As far as like being a tactician, about when it comes to like planning out and thinking, like there's not many better than Tyrion. Even if
Nope.
even if what he has decided is not necessarily the most popular decision, it's usually the right decision.
I mean, well said, Brando. He's made every move he's needed to. He's avoided death when it was almost certain he would not live. He is, really orchestrating a lot of things. But one thing Tyrion needs is Jon Snow to trust him.
Yes,
And he sends a raven to Winterfell with a message.
yes, indeed, and it was, of course, it was deliberated, and they're thinking this may not be Tyrion, maybe a trap by Cersei, but of course, Tyrion was letting Jon know that he's the hand of the Queen Daenerys Targaryen, that they're requesting his appearance to talk, letting him know of their status, of their army, of their dragons, of everything. But the part that's the greatest is that so far we've had 2 episodes this season, and we've had a couple different callbacks to different parts of earlier on in the show. And of course, this goes all the way back to the very beginning of the show, where he leaves a little personal note to Jon, something that he has said to Jon personally and that Tyrion remembers, and how obviously Tyrion understands that in this time of war and unrest that there's going to be question. There's going to be question of whether or not this is a legit note from Tyrion or something sent by a spy or deception. And he footnotes it with like a saying that he has said to Jon back in season 1, and that was, all dwarves are bastards in their father's eyes. And he said that line privately to Jon. Basically, first time he met Jon, he met him, and Jon was kind of cold to him. Basically, like, you're a Lannister, how could you possibly know what it's like to be a bastard, right? And Tyrion pretty much said, do you think my father really thinks that highly of me?
No pun intended. Oh shit.
Yeah, well, yeah, but Tyrion understands what it's like to be the shunned one of the family, which is what Jon was, So that's something that Jon holds dear, and they're questioning whether or not they can trust Tyrion, and Jon sees no reason why he can't. He said he was always very good to him. He goes, Tyrion is not like the other Lannisters. He really isn't. And now what's interesting about that is that we're going to shift gears here for a second and talk about Jaime. Jaime's not like his sister per se either. Jaime has something which his sister lacks, heavily lacks, and that is compassion.
Correct.
He isn't the most altruistic character, which makes him a really interesting character to watch, because it's obvious at this point he supports his sister. He supports, he may not necessarily 100% agree with all of her decisions or what has happened, but this is where we're at. This is where we're going to go forward. We can't let a Targaryen take the throne back. But Jaime, he has shown compassion. He's shown compassion for his brother on multiple occasions. He loves his brother and has cared for him. He has shown compassion for Brienne of Tarth. He has shown compassion for quite a few people. Jaime, as a character, has grown a lot in this show, as have a lot of characters, but Jaime more so. So we're gonna touch back on this in just a little bit, but the whole thing with Tyrion sending the Raven to Jon, as the whole thing made me question about how exactly Raven mail works. Because is this kind of like Harry Potter where the owls just know where to go? Because we haven't mentioned down south, Sam Tarly, he obviously went down to the Citadel where you just study to be a maester, and he went to go try and do some research to figure out how to kill the White Walkers and become a Grand Maester for the Wall. And when he left, Jon Snow was the Lord Commander of the Night Watch. He is no longer the Lord Commander of the Night Watch, and Sam has discovered a big location of Dragonglass, which is, of course, the rock that Sam used to kill a White Walker beyond the Wall. And, of course, they can make weapons out of that. He has found the location for it and said, I'm going to tell Jon right away. So he sends the raven. Jon gets this raven. So was that raven mail forwarded from the wall? Or was it retweeted? How does this work? I don't really understand. I mean, maybe I'm thinking too much of this. Maybe my brain is working too much. But I haven't really got the lore about how the ravens work, per se. It's because
I wonder if every raven has a route. Like there's only one raven that travels from Pike to King's Landing. There's only one raven that'll travel to and from the Citadel to the wall.
But then, how does Sam know where this? The Sam, far as he hasn't let know yet that he is aware that Jon's no longer the Lord Commander of the Night Watch. As far as he knew, he was sending that letter to the Lord Commander of the Night Watch, Jon Snow. But instead, he's sending it to the King of the North, Jon Snow, which is a much different Jon Snow than Lord Commander of the Night Watch, because the Lord Commander of the Night Watch is some other dude that I can't remember the name of. Because Jon's like, screw this shit, I'm out of here. I died once. That my watch is over. I'm not watching over anybody anymore, except for the North. And this whole thing has kind of gotten out of control as far as like my thoughts. But since now he knows where Daenerys Targaryen is, which is at Dragonstone. And then now he knows that at Dragonstone, underneath that is a whole mountain of dragonglass. So suddenly he's like, crap, we decided not to go, and now I gotta go. And everyone's like, don't go, Jon, we need you here. And it's like, we need the dragonglass. We can't defeat the dead without them. I'm doing my worst Kit Harington impersonation.
It's not that bad.
And then, of course, we have that whole confrontation. I think having Jon leave Winterfell is ultimately going to be a bad thing, as much as he needs to go and talk to Daenerys and figure out exactly what they need. I think Littlefinger is going to use this opportunity to try to move in. Sansa is not stupid. I think her, because she was placed in power of the entire North, not just Winterfell. She is like Warden of the North now. Is she going to get power hungry? Did you notice, Nate? There was a scene in the first episode where they were talking about Cersei Lannister, because Cersei sent a raven to Jon, telling him to bend the knee. Come to King's Landing, bend the knee, and swear fealty to me. And basically, the North is now loyal again to the Iron Throne. And of course, Jon's like, I'm not going, and they're not coming up here, so screw it. And then Sansa's trying to warn him about, Cersei. Basically goes on and on about how she usually gets her way and that the people who defy her are dead. And then he's like, sounds like you almost admire her. And it's like, well, she taught me a lot. Nate, did you notice the hairstyle that Sansa was wearing was the same hairstyle Cersei was wearing when she first met Sansa in Winterfell?
I did not notice that, but upon you saying it, I can actually see that. Yeah, that's wild.
Very interesting. I wonder how Sansa being in power is going to affect either good or bad. Is she going to get power hungry? Is she going to try and keep this power away from Littlefinger? Is this not going to... Because here's the thing. This is Game of Thrones. How often in Game of Thrones is there a happy ending?
Ain't no sunshine or rainbows in this motherfucker.
No, so something's going to have to go wrong. So if Arya's heading to Winterfell now, Jon's gone. It's going to be Sansa. And Sansa with the influence of Littlefinger, trying to move in. Brienne's there, maybe. It's going to be interesting, to say the least. Now, let's go to what we think. Let's theorize just... Oh, wait, we didn't talk about Jorah. Jorah Mormont, of course, got grayscale, right, in the previous season.
Gets sent off by Daenerys to cure himself.
After he is like repeatedly, dude, he is so hung up on that pussy. He's like, I'm here not to win your heart, but just to, I'm loyal to you after all I've done. And she was like, get away, get away, get away. It's like, holy crap, you're dying. Okay, you can stay. He's like, but I'm dying. And she's like, go find a cure. He's like, all right. And then so
all right.
And so he winds up at the Citadel where Sam is, where Sam served with Jorah's dad, who was the Lord Commander of the Night Watch, Lord Commander Mormont. And so Sam was like, Sam's doing all this like really like hardcore decoy studying, like in his like he's nothing but a bitch boy for the Citadel Maesters, and he's doing all this studying in his off time to try and figure out how to defeat the White Walkers, how to cure grayscale, and so now what we saw in this last episode, they were gonna kill Jorah. I'm like, yeah, you're dead anyway. We're just gonna execute you and send you on your way. And then Sam's like, no, I'm gonna save you. And they're like, how? I was like, I'm gonna cut the entire upper layer of your skin off.
Oh God, it was so gross and pussy.
And it makes you think, it's like, man, why didn't, if this is what it was, it's like if Jorah would have known that, he could have escaped with a lot less of a wound.
Yeah, for real.
But this
could have just cut it off himself in the beginning.
But it's gotten this bad. It's taken over his arm and a lot of his torso. It's getting pretty bad for him. He was told that he only has like 6 months before he loses his mind, maybe 10 or 20 years before it actually kills him. Did you notice that the maester that Sam is serving under is actually Professor Slughorn from Harry Potter?
I did not.
I didn't notice that either until Caitlin pointed it out. And as soon as she did, it's like, got it. It's him. He's not acting the same. He doesn't even look the same. He's got a beard now. But it is the same actor. It's pretty cool. Another Harry Potter actor that appears in Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
So, Nate, let's get back to Jaime. I want to talk about Jaime a little bit. Jaime's one of my favorite characters in the show. Now, I told you before that he has something that Cersei lacks, and that's compassion. He's in a place right now where, his biggest weakness has always been Cersei. He loves her to the end. Loves her. But she's not necessarily entirely the same woman he fell in love with.
Not even close.
So, do you think, okay, maybe that's not the way. I'm not going to ask you what you think. I want you to add on and see if you agree with what I think.
Sure.
I think Jaime's going to be put in a rock and a hard place where he's going to have to make a decision.
And I think that you're meaning that he's going to have to maybe be the one that takes Cersei down.
Yeah.
That's really dark because I've thought about that, Brando, and like the idea that like he sees the path she's on and how she's going to destroy everything, but there's only one real way for him to prevent that, and that's for him to be on the throne. And the only way for him to do that is to kill the queen. And since he's a Lannister, he can cover it up because that's what they do. And then, but what if, the mountain sees him kill her and then crushes Jaime's head?
So, some of that's cool, and I agree with some of that. Jaime, when he served under the Mad King, was put in a rock and a hard place. The King's Landing was being laid under siege by he wasn't king yet, by Robert Baratheon, Ned Stark, and their new ally, Tywin Lannister. Lannister had officially allied with Baratheon and Stark. The Mad King ordered Jaime to go bring him his father's head. Jaime didn't want to do that. Things were getting so bad that the Mad King decided to destroy the entire city to stop the siege. That's when Jaime killed the king. He killed, the Mad King. Suddenly can't remember his name now. His first name, of course, Targaryen.
Aegon?
Aemon. I think Aemon's the Lord, the Grand Maester, Aemon Targaryen. Maester Aemon. Yeah, I can't remember exactly. Like, I want to say it was an A. However, what if the Kingslayer trades in his title for Queenslayer?
Ooh.
Now, When Cersei received her prophecy when she was a kid, she was told that she would be queen and she would sit on the Iron Throne. But she would lose that throne to someone more beautiful than her. Now, Daenerys, right. Now, we were also thought that maybe when that prophecy was revealed, it was, they're kind of talking about Marjorie, Tyrell, right? She's freaking hot.
Well, she was still alive then, too.
Right. But now she's dead.
Very much so.
But we're, of course, talking about Daenerys, right? But also that she would be killed by her younger brother. So many people like, Tyrion. Tyrion's going to finally do her in. Jaime's also her younger brother, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
And this is how I think it's going to go down. I think Jaime's going to kill her. I think it's going to kill him to do it. I think he's going to eat him up that he's had to do this. He's not going to want to. But he knows it's the right thing. But I also don't think that he's going to walk out of it. I don't think he's going to be sitting there on the throne just like last time. I think when she falls, I think he falls. And it's going to be he takes out Cersei, the throne ends up going to Daenerys, but he can't live with it. He can't go. And whether or not somebody else kills him or if he just gives up and maybe the mountain smashes him or whatever, I think him doing that's going to kill a big part of himself.
Yeah.
And I think we might end up with a moment before he dies. And I hope we do, because this thing writes itself. One last moment with Jaime and Tyrion, with Tyrion standing over him, maybe kneeling as Jaime's breathing some of his last breaths, right? And then get to have one last goodbye.
Right.
But I mean, that's how I think. I think Jaime's going to end up being the one to take Cersei down after all this. In this last episode, we saw the Greyjoys, and I can never remember her name. Blaine said it today, but the chick that it was the Viper. She's like a Martell, so I got the last name. They were pretty much laid siege upon by Euron Greyjoy. He's the guy that Cersei has decided to have an alliance with. He's looking to take over the Iron Islands. Of course, he killed his brother and laid command. He now leads the Iron Islands. And Theon and Yara took half the fleet or whatever, joined up with Daenerys. Well, he attacked them. And they have talked about, and they have talked up how badass he is on the open sea, and how he has become a freaking king out there. You don't mess with Euron Greyjoy out there. And holy shit, they weren't lying.
Man, he just came in and fucking went to town.
Dude,
like, it was nuts, because it was one of those things, like, I wasn't expecting it. And then when it started happening, I was like, I totally know what's coming. Here comes Euron. And, of course, you had to know what Cersei knew what she was doing, saying what she said to him, and ultimately, I think it's an empty promise.
Yeah.
No matter what he does, she's not going to marry him or bed him or any of that shit. It was all just a pawn in this game, and she sent him off. Go fucking take care of this little problem I have, and then we'll see, you know?
And therefore, with this whole thing happening, it kind of puts into question the whole plan for laying siege on King's Landing. And I want to say all of the Martell daughters are dead now. I think all 3 of them are dead.
Well, did we get a confirmation that they killed her?
Well, okay. Now, what I mean by the Martell daughters is that you have the wife or the lover of the Viper. I am like not using proper names here. He's the guy that the Mountain killed, of course. And that set her at odds with the Lannisters, right?
Yep.
And of course, she ended up killing his the Viper's brother, which I want to say he was in charge. He was like the leading, like the Lord of like Lord of Dorne, Lord Martell. She poisoned him or killed him or whatever, and so now she's in charge. Their daughters are the ones who are those badass fighters down there, and I think they're all dead. But the Queen Bee, whatever her name is, no. Her and Yara have both been captured, and they're both going to be taken to Cersei as the prize, because Euron said he would not return until he had a gift for Cersei. And here are these traitors. Here is, my niece, and here's the Martell lady from Dorne, who are going to they had already sworn allegiance to their new queen, Daenerys Targaryen, and that kind of puts Daenerys in a rock and a hard place. No pun intended with where she's at. And I think that with Jon coming down saying, "We need the Dragonglass," and it's like she's going to be like, "I need the North." And,
well, I think they have a perfect trade coming.
Well, I really think it's going to be interesting, because then you're going to bring the North families out of the North to help fight the Lannisters. And then I think that's going to lead the way for the dead to come in for the next season.
Yeah, and that's going to be where we end, is the battle against the White Walkers.
Mm-hmm.
This is all taking place very quick. You only have 5 episodes left of this season. Next week's essentially the mid-season finale, even though there's not a finale. It's just like we're almost at the midway point here. Everything is shaping up. It seems like we kind of know where everything is going. The Red Priestess has aligned herself with Daenerys and said, she's the one that really tipped them off that you need to find Jon Snow. He's the one the Lord of Light wants. He's been brought back successfully. Blah, blah, blah. You also have lovely evolution going on with Gregor Clegane, the Hound.
Yes, I absolutely love that callback. He's traveling with that band of like mercenaries or group that are following the Lord of Light, and he's kind of found themselves in bed with them, and they end up finding his cabin, and of course it's a callback to the cabin where him and Arya paid a visit to, and he ends up robbing them of their food and their coin, and they end up dead because of that. They end up starving, and it's such an awesome. This show is so cool about making you hate characters, and then making those characters then turn around and you go, wow, these characters aren't really as bad as they were originally portrayed, or they have grown enough. Like Jaime, like the Hound, like where the Hound was just did not care, and now has regret for what he's done. He feels like shit. He hates the fact that he did that then, and he mentions that in a couple different ways. Like, they talk about justice, and he's like, "There's no justice. There were justice. That little girl would still be alive. I would have met justice a long time ago. But now that I'm not, I've got to make this right." And then the closest thing that he can do to making it right is giving them a proper burial. He tries to say the little prayer thing at the end, which made me crack a laugh. He couldn't fucking remember it, and but it was cool that one dude helped him, because no words were really said, but he understood that whatever it was, this was important to Clegane to do this, and there's some sort of weird awkward brotherhood that Clegane has with these people.
Yes, correct. Man, I love this season. I'm really excited. I don't really have much else to say about it, though, Brando. Honestly, I just can't wait to see where we go. We're close to seeing episode 3 this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
We're obviously going to talk about episodes 3 and 4 on the other side of 150. That's coming up soon.
Yeah,
next week.
Yeah, 150. Dude, I am so excited. I really feel like Game of Thrones is going to be this kind of show, much like Breaking Bad, where you have this awesome bow on a series where from season 1 to the last season, it's just this great series that tells a awesome story from beginning to end. And then it's so rewatchable. It's so bingeable that when you recommend the series to somebody, you're like, look, you're from beginning to end, you're getting an awesome storytelling experience. And it's not like some shows that along the way they lose their way or whatever. I use Dexter all the time. A great show up to a certain point, but then it's sort of like just falls apart at some point too. And it, of course, in my opinion, just doesn't end the way that it really deserved to end. So it's kind of hard to recommend that series to people knowing how I feel about the second half of that series. But Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones, these are two shows that they have an end in sight. From the point that they began, they didn't just roll on saying we're going to go until we can't go anymore. No, they had an end. There was an end. And honestly, sometimes I like that because there's a finality to it. There's this perfectly wrapped up story. They have a certain amount of time to tell their story, and they can write it. They can finesse it. They can get it to exactly the way it's meant to be.
Yeah, man. This show is going to be like a perfect swan song, but I don't think there's a wrong way to end it.
It's going to be interesting because if for anybody who is, a fan of the series or fan of the show, who has read anything that George R.R. Martin has ever said, he doesn't know the ending. George is a guy who really writes as he feels. He has an idea of how he wants stuff to go, but as he's writing it, a lot of times it changes. It kind of left turns. That's sometimes where you get like, some of these surprising deaths or whatnot. I just got the picture you sent of Make Westeros Great Again with Cersei. That's cool. But man, I see now you dethroned me. I get it.
I see.
Instead of
I see
derailed,
what I've done there.
you definitely dethroned me. What was I saying?
You were just going to talk about how I D-King chaired you.
Well, yeah, you did. Before that, like there was a point I was getting to before you sent me that Trump hat meme with Cersei. Oh, okay. George R.R. Martin, he already knows in his mind that the ending is going to be bittersweet. He said like a lot of his favorite stories, a lot of his favorite things, books that he's read or stories or whatever. A lot of his favorite ones aren't the happy, birds and sunshine and roses and rainbows and all that kind of stuff. As you said, there are no rainbows in Westeros. And so,
or sunshine.
Well, I mean, there's some sunshine in the summers, but then when winter's here, it gets, gets a little chilly. And so I definitely feel like there's gonna be some things that kind of go on in this series that we're gonna be yelling at our TV for. But that's what makes the show great. Because that was the Ned Stark moment. That was the Red Wedding, That was the killing of Jon Snow. And then that was also the Battle of the Bastards and all that. There's so many great moments. There's so many awesome moments. And there's so many what the fuck moments. And what has this show just done to itself? This show just killed itself. And next thing you know, the show has just evolved into another form of itself. The whole Ned Stark thing sets up the rest of the show.
Correct.
The whole...
And that was the thing, man. I hated this show for so long because of how attached I was to
Ned, yeah.
To Ned Stark. But then the fucking problem is that it's so necessary.
Yeah.
That it's made this story maybe one of the greatest stories of all time.
Oh, dude, it's awesome. And George just said recently that he's just months away from finishing The Winds of Winter, which is, of course, the next acclaimed book in the series, which is where we're at now in the story. The last book I want to say was released the same year that the series started, was in 2011. Of course, that at the end of that book is when Jon Snow gets murdered, and of course this happened a few seasons ago. So we are, we've sort of passed that point in his storytelling. So it's going to be interesting to see how his version, and of course the version that we get for the show, It differs if it does at all. I mean, I kind of hope it does, because it's like, let's let George have it the way that he feels like it needs to flow, and then let's have our TV show verse and have it kind of like, how we have the awesome stuff with The Walking Dead, and we have some different realities, and let's kind of have that here as well.
Yeah, man. I know they did a video game for Game of Thrones. I would love to see this continue to spill into other mediums.
Well, sir. Yes, we have a Telltale series game for Game of Thrones, which I want to say features Tyrion and Cersei and maybe some other characters. There's also another Game of Thrones game that was a RPG developed by Atlas. It's almost kind of like a Dragon Age Light. It's not like, it is a little bit of a budget title, but it still has some pretty cool stuff in here. It follows a couple different characters. One of the first characters you play as, he's at the wall, and you get to explore the wall. You get to walk around, and that's so cool. But there is story, there is pray tell, there are rumors abound, sir, that there is a Game of Thrones game possibly coming out in 2019 or 2020.
Oh.
And guess who's making it?
Rocksteady.
Bethesda.
Oh. Ooh. That was my second guess.
So not just a studio owned by Bethesda, the studio that makes Elder Scrolls, the studio that makes Fallout. Imagine an RPG of that level of scale in Westeros.
Oh, huge, man. I can't wait, Brando.
It's so
I hope
huge.
that's true.
Oh, trust me, so do I. But that is like all the rumor in the mill that Bethesda Studios, they are working on a brand new IP right now to set aside Elder Scrolls and Fallout for the time being. Let's clear the slate and do something else, and then they're doing Game of Thrones, and then they're going to come back with Elder Scrolls 6.
Damn, sounds like an awesome time to be a gamer and to be alive and to be a nerd and all this awesome stuff. I don't really have anything else left. Brando, do you?
Dude, I think I'm spent.
All right, man. Well, as always, folks, check us out on all our different social media sites. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Podbean, Stitcher, Google Play Music, iTunes, Patreon. There's a bunch of other places that you can get us on, like Instagram, go to Journey Into Comics, or on Twitter, go to JIC Podcast, or Journey Into Comics Podcast on Facebook. Just search us. Give us a 5-star review on the iTunes or Google Play Music. I don't know if you can rate on Google Play Music, but it's cool. Also, obviously, go on Podbean and check us out there. We appreciate you guys so much for listening to 149 episodes of Journey Into Comics as of right now. Next week, Brando and I are going to come back for episode 150. It's huge. It's hilarious. It's got a lot of cool moments. It is definitely a retrospective on our show, but I think it's definitely something that is fun and totally stands out as something that we'll never, ever forget doing, Brando.
Absolutely. It was a loads of fun, a lot of cool callbacks, a lot of like a really cool retrospective on us, looking back at some of our old intros, some of the old episodes that we've done. Looking back at the famed biology report from episode 2, it was something that sort of like led up to this moment, led up to that, where in the last few months we've been a little bit of like retrospective, looking back at like, man, I can't believe we've done this many podcasts, and it's like this is a cool launching point from here forward to look back, and then let's hit 151 and let's hit the ground running.
Yep, and look forward to episode 200 and episode 300 and episode 600 and episode 1000. And we're never going to stop, Brando. I'm so excited for the future of our show. Thank you guys again, as I said, for listening to this week's episode of Journey into Comics. Brando, did you have anything else you would like to add, my friend?
That is about it, my friend.
All right, folks. Well, as always, for Journey into Comics, I'm Nate.
I'm Brando.
Keep filling your brains with shit. Have a good one.